I could go on a long time about this litany of challenges we face, but I'm not going to. You get the idea. We have our work cut out for us. But I stand before you with this microphone in my hand and my vegan shoes on, telling you I'm hopeful. I really am hopeful. And you know why? I'm hopeful that we can solve these problems because of the problems we've already solved, of how far we've come. You'll hear a lot of doom and gloom about the environment, and it would appear that I just put some of it out there myself. But I look at it not as doom and gloom, I look at it as challenges, and challenges that we can overcome. Why do I say that? I talked about the air pollution in LA. Many of you may not know, though we have 4 times the amount of cars since 1970 in Los Angeles, we have half the pollution. I'm going to repeat what I just said. 4 times the cars, half the pollution. We proved we could do it. Can I have a hand for that? We have a lot of work to do still. In case anybody's going to go home, Ed said we've cleaned up the air in LA and Houston and Bakersfield. We haven't done that, but we've proven that we can do it. We got a mountain of environmental ills. We've gone halfway up the mountain. Halfway up. 4 times the amount of cars, half the pollution. We can do this. And the reason I bring that up, the most important reason, because the reason a lot of people didn't want to tackle it, I was there in 1970 when you started this fight to clean up the air. They said we'd go broke doing it. They said we would go broke cleaning up the air. People said to me, and you can look in the archives of the LA Times, they said the same things there. It's right there. You can look on microfilm, or you can find the old issues there at libraries. We'd love to clean up the air, but we'll go broke doing it. Smog is a sad side effect of progress. If you want progress, the smog goes with it. And you can't clean it up without going broke. They were wrong. We cleaned up the air, and California, the economy boomed. It boomed in those years with 4 times the amount of cars and half the pollution boomed. And why? Because there's money to be made in cleaning up the air. There's money selling combined cycle gas turbines. There's money selling electric cars and hybrid cars and wind turbines, catalytic converters on cars. All these big ticket and small ticket items that we did that cleaned up the air, there's money in that. I mentioned ozone depletion. You heard about that. In 1987, we got really tough with it. We started to eliminate CFCs from things, from aerosols and what have you in the 70s. By 1987, after the Montreal Protocol, we got really tough with it. That ozone hole that they said is not going to really turn around for 30, 40 years, less than 20 years. It didn't get bigger, didn't stay the same size, it got smaller. We can do this. That's a big thing, a hole in the ozone layer. Businesses got involved, individuals got involved, and the hole is not bigger, it's smaller. We had Lake Erie that was all but dead from mercury-intensive paper-making processes. We had all sorts of phosphates from detergents, heavy phosphates and detergents going into Lake Erie. Lots of other polluting plants going into Lake Erie. It was all but dead, nearly dead. We turned that around. It's coming back to life. The Hudson River, one of the most productive fisheries since the Dutch settlers came, was so polluted in the 60s that a bunch of Vietnam veterans and blue-collar workers got together in American Legion Hall in the 60s, and they were prepared to break the law. These law-abiding men got together, veterans, they got together at this VA hall, and they were ready to break the law because of the pollution. It was so bad in the Hudson River, they lost their living. They couldn't fish the river anymore. It was so polluted, the Hudson River in the 60s. They were ready to put dynamite in a raft and send it into the outfall pipe from the Penn Central and blow it up so they could stop the pollution and teach them a lesson. And one guy raised his hand. His name was Bob Boyle from Field and Stream, not exactly an environmentalist. He said, you know, we're talking about breaking the law. We should talk about enforcing the law. There's a law in the books, the 1885 Safe Harbors and Rivers Act, and if we sue them and win, we get half the money. We can then sue the rest of the plants that are polluting. And the Hudson River Keeper was born. And now the Hudson River is one of the most productive fisheries in the Northeast. They still have some work to do, but they've cleaned it up 3/4 of the way, 5/6 of the way. They've done incredible work in the Hudson River. Don't anybody ever tell you, don't let them tell you we can't do this. We can do it. We've proven we can do it. We've done it again and again. There's nothing but success stories. We can do this. And this show you see before you is an example. There's nothing but people out there who are going to make money, going to be prosperous. They're going to do well by doing good. All these construction firms with different environmentally sound materials, good insulation, double pane windows, all that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that we did in LA, and it cleaned up the air and nobody went broke. They're saying it again. And that's the reason I bring it all up. They're saying it, we'd love to clean up and do something about global warming. We'd love to do something about all these things. We can't afford it, we'll go broke. No, we won't, because there's jobs making double pane windows and good insulation and solar panels and electric cars and hybrid cars, wind turbines. Are there not jobs doing all those things? Of course there are. There's jobs and jobs of dignity. So don't buy the malarkey, because they're saying it again. They said it all in the past. They said, we'd love to put catalytic converters on cars, we can't afford it. We'd love to put seatbelts on cars, we can't afford it. We'd love to put airbags in cars, we can't afford it. Vapor recovery nozzles at gas pumps, we can't, everybody go broke. There won't be a gas station left in America. No gas company will be able to afford it. It was not true. And all that stuff cleaned up the air. We can do it again. You're probably wondering how I got into this stuff, this environmental thing. I got to pay homage to my father, who was a conservative Republican, and I am not, but he was, and he was a great man. He was a conservative that liked to conserve. Imagine that. And there's a lot of them out there, because I got email from them. Good people who write me saying, I may not always agree with you politically, mister, but I like that you walk the talk, and I like that show, and your wife, you're lucky to have her. And I want to get one of those solar ovens. And I want to get a rain barrel. And I want to get one of those wind turbines you have in your show. People want to do something, because guess what? It's not just about global warming. Put that aside for a second. Pretend that doesn't exist for a second. The same stuff that's going to combat global warming, if the PhDs are right, is going to lessen our dependence on Mideast oil, put money in our pockets, and clean up the air in Houston and Bakersfield. You get three things right there. You're doing three things, and oh, by the way, while you're doing it, you're going to clean up global warming. What could be wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with that. This started in 1970 as a result of my father, a conservative who liked to conserve, who always told me to walk the talk and never tell people what you're going to do, tell them what you've done. And he sadly died in 1970. I want to do something to honor him. And they had the first Earth Day. There was another thing that happened in 1969 that I think led to the first Earth Day. It certainly led to my first Earth Day. Anybody old enough to remember the Cuyahoga River catching fire? Thank you very much, in 1969. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's bad when rivers catch fire. Seems like a bad sign. When rivers catch fire, they're supposed to be water. They're not supposed to catch fire. This was like the fourth time it had caught fire. It was not good. They put it out, and the Clean Water Act was born soon after, and the Earth Day happened within a year of that. Earth Day happened, and I got involved. And I also got involved, as I said, to honor my father, in part because I was a Boy Scout and I had, developed a love of the outdoors. But the most important thing I saved for the last, that air pollution in LA in 1970 was horrible, choking smog. I couldn't run from here to that curtain as a young man without wheezing like this. I couldn't catch my breath. And I was not an asthmatic. I wasn't a baby. Everybody was wheezing. We burned our trash in our backyard in California then. Not in some scofflaw manner. We all have. Tim remembers. Joe remembers. I'm sorry. Is your brother Tim here too? Joe and Tim Leach from Eco Village. You got to see what they're doing later.